Hello, welcome to Walford United WFC. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Walford United with me, John Foster, MUFC. We've got Natalie and Rich with us tonight. How you doing? You okay?
Smashing it. Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, we got Rich on especially for this show because we're going to be talking about two players that Rich knows really well from the Sheffield days. So Rich is on for a good reason. So can't wait to get into that. We're going to be talking about an article from Amy Rushkoy. I think that came out at the start of the week regarding Lucy Watson. Or I think it was even last week, wasn't it, Nat? Because we obviously went to watch her on Sunday. So we'll be talking a bit about Lucy Watson. We're going to be talking about Ebony Salmon. We're going to be talking about Blackstinius. And welcome to a message from Nat today saying, John, it's time. It's time we need to talk about one person. We've held off a little bit about talking about it, hyping her up too much, but we've got about Maria Edwards, so we're going to be talking a bit about Maria as well. But before we talk about that, Nat, you did a show yesterday. Do you want to just kind of touch on that one a little bit?
Yeah, it was a pre-record show, but I mean, I think a lot of people have watched it. A lot of love. Naomi Hartley, our OG21. So definitely go back in the timeline whenever you can and watch it. And obviously at the end, Nom talked about her business. She does shoes like these. So, putting them up here. Customized trainers, and I know she does t-shirts as well, or starting that business. But these are banging. So Nom says, get in contact with us, get a 10% discount. So, put that down. You've got kids, all sizes, any design, 10% discount. Come through us. Okay. But yeah, it was a good show and go and watch it. And it was very interesting about what she said about Sheffield and her loan spell and then signing for Sheffield and Wardy. And then the difference between Wardy and, say, Casey, and then she said Neil was one of the best managers she's ever worked under, so I'm sure Rich will like that. But yeah, it was very interesting to hear what she was saying about development, and she's still a young player, but from that 17-year-old age when she came back to Man United to where she's at now, she feel a lot of things happened, and definitely go and check out that show.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Hello to everybody in the comments already. Thank you very much. So let's talk a little bit about Sheffield first, because obviously a little bit of this show is going to be based around Sheffield players or ex-Sheffield players. So, Rich, start off with yourself. Sheffield at the moment, they're middle of the league, 10 points, 10 points for, 10 points against. Conti Cup, middle of the league, in a very tough league, in my opinion. Just what are your thoughts on Sheffield's start to the season?
Yeah, it's been okay. We started quite well. We've been a little bit lucky in a couple of games since. We played Palace, finished 0-0. Could have gone either way. We played Liverpool at Bramall Lane, which was always going to be tough. And Sunderland in the Cup, we gave a penalty away in the 94th minute, which wasn't a penalty. Obviously, Bristol on Sunday was disappointing. Even then, I thought first half particularly, we probably had the better chances. We had a goal disallowed, which we've watched back and was not offside. That would have made it 2-2. So, second half we were poor. And then last night we were really good. We had 11 players, 11 senior players fit. The bench was 5 kids. So we only made one change. Liverpool were bringing internationals on left, right and centre, and we played really well and probably deserved to win. Lost on penalties, but that's not a big deal. Getting a 0-0 was very good, considering after we conceded 5 on Sunday, and it was a strong Liverpool team. So, yeah, pretty okay. We've dropped a couple of points that we probably shouldn't have, which has put us a bit further behind. But we're doing okay. We're part time still, and there's more clubs going full time. So I think we're pretty okay with where we are at the moment.
Nat, how about yourself? Obviously, we've had a journey down there to what's against Bristol. Unfortunately, that was like the one kind of game for us to go to from Sheffield's side of things. But Sheffield, obviously, you don't get that amount of points by losing every game. It's 5-1, so there has been some plus points. I think you've been to a few more games than me this season, Nat. But what are your thoughts on the start of the season?
Yeah, obviously, I think it started off well. I think Tara. I think there was a massive loads of shocks in the first day of the season, but then I think, like I said, started off well. Tara started off well. Tara's on loan at Sheffield. Lucy Watson scoring goals, still scoring goals. Obviously, they beat Durham. Now Durham are on an unbeaten run. And I was at that Durham game, and it's comfortable. It was easy for Sheffield. They were scoring first half, second half. Durham didn't. I know it was eventually 2-1, if I'm right, Rich, but was it 3-1? Can't remember. But 3-1. They battered them. And then obviously got into a bit of a slump, a sort of downwards kind of. A lot of injuries, like Rich says. I've only got like 11 internationals now that literally played on the pitch. So, it affects, say, a part-time team more than it would, say, affect us. We've got a lot of injuries. Look at Man City, they've got a lot of injuries, but they've still got a load of internationals. And, I think now people are looking beyond maybe City's injuries and saying, well, that team should still beat that team. And it's not probably the case with Sheffield. And they're sort of playing, like Rich said, a lot of full-time teams. But I know we're going to get onto her. The one who's shining, the one that we all left the ground saying, obviously, we all like Palmer, but the one we all left the ground saying, Lucy Watson, shone the thumbnail for me, 17 years old, 5 goals, just says it all, and that's what that article's about. She went to Sheffield to play, and she's playing, and she's banging them in for fun, really.
John Foy's in the comments, obviously, being here from day one, so just wish you all the best there, mate. I just read your comments, so hope everything's okay. Everyone says it doesn't matter what podcast you go on or what stadium you go to, just how strong the championship is, and it looks like anyone can beat anyone. It's whoever can put a run together. Obviously, you got Durham and Liverpool, just a couple of points between them, I think, roughly. It's just so hard for anyone to just put 3 or 4 wins together, isn't it? Because it's just going to be such a tight league. We spoke about Sheffield a fair bit on this podcast, and that's because of the tight bond between United and Sheffield over the past three years. Rich, do you mind me just asking maybe like where that kind of bond come from? I know obviously it's come from the loan spells, but is it because the closeness of the managers, the closeness of the GMs, or where's it kind of come from?
I think initially it was a bit of everything. Excuse me. I think it was, Wardy and Casey obviously were the 2 managers at the time, got on very well. They played together years ago now. Before the WSL started, they were both at Lincoln. So they knew each other. I think geographically it has always worked because of our proximity to Manchester. And I think as well, it's probably better for us as a part-time club because clubs want to loan players to part-time clubs because they can keep them generally there during the day, full-time, and then we get them, once, maybe twice a week in the evening, and they're guaranteed game time on a weekend. So it was kind of a few things. I think at the time, obviously, with the first 3 that came in, Fran, Nom, and Ebony, all needed game time. We needed players in all 3 of those positions. And they could just travel across. It was an hour across to Sheffield. So, and they could train with United during the day, come and train with us at night, and then play on the Sunday. And all 3 of them did well. And it probably benefited all of them in terms of Fran got to go back, Non got a permanent move, Eb's got a permanent move to the WSL, and obviously now to America. And then obviously, Palms was exactly the same. Molly Green, Rambo obviously didn't really work out those latter 2 just because of COVID, just after they joined. And then, obviously now Tara as well, exactly the same. She trains with United during the day. She comes to us, 1 evening, 2 evenings sometimes, and she gets to play on Sunday. So it benefits United in terms of her development. It benefits us in terms of we get a good player, and it benefits her as well. So, it definitely started because of probably Wardy and Casey's, closeness, and it's just gone from there really. And I'm sure Tara probably won't be the last in the future because it just makes sense for everybody. So it's been good, and obviously it's got us a lot of interest from you guys over the years.
Well, this is kind of what I wanted to ask because January, we're no strangers to doing like deals in January. Would you be surprised if there was like some sort of loan move in January or?
Well, I've just got over the summer, so
We
I
were
don't
thinking
know.
about January. It's like 2 months away.
I've literally, honestly, like I know Nat wants me to get like all excited like she does, but I just wait for someone to tell me we've signed someone and that's it.
Listen, Rich knows. The things they build up. So if there is someone, who's maybe not getting a lot of minutes, I know we're going to go on to about Lucy Watson, but maybe they could do with another forward. Sheffield got a few forwards. Carrie Jones, maybe I think she needs more minutes. Rich knows they don't get done quick. Rich just doesn't find out that it's talked about
look,
for a
don't
while.
get me wrong. If Redders is signing anybody in January, it will be going on now. I've got no doubt about that. But I get told when we're ready to do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to know before that, because if I start asking and I start hearing names, I start getting my hopes up, and then I just end up disappointed. So, I'm sure every club will be doing, things not just for now, but for the summer. I'm sure Redders is looking at who he wants next year. But it doesn't mean that I know about. I think if there's a player, loans are a difficult one because they help you, but they also don't help you long term. Do you know what I mean? Like, you try and build a squad for next season and the season after, and the reality is probably Tara won't be with us next season. Emily Syme probably won't be with us next season. So they come and help you, but you don't want too many of them, because it just if half your team all of a sudden, half your starting 11, because I think you can have 6 loans now in the Championship, and if you have 6 loans and nobody does, you're losing half your team at the end of the season. So from that point of view, it's difficult. So you don't want to have too many. But yeah, I mean, look, if somebody came up that was real quality and was going to change your team, like halfway through that season when we signed Fran, Norman, and Ebbs, and obviously we were a much weaker team back then than we are now, because that was our first season. It was a no-brainer. Now it would have to be a good player, because if you look at the attack, you've obviously got Lucy. You've got Corpse who's doing well, Jess Clark's doing well, Bex Rayner's doing well. And we've got our own kids as well, that need game time and deserve game time as well. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be things going on. But yeah, I genuinely, as soon as I get a phone call off our GM saying, right, come on, get in, we've got someone to announce, then I'll be in. But
if it was done, we would know about it by now. If there was something going on, we would know. Well, maybe we wouldn't all know.
Fair, you usually come to me and say, "Oh, I've heard Chef for signings," and I'm like, "I've not got a clue."
We would know.
You mentioned Tara Vaughan a couple of times there. How's she getting on? She settled in okay?
Yeah, she's a really nice girl. First and foremost, she's so polite. She always says hello. She's always smiling. She played right back last night, which was a first for us this season. I mean, we were makeshift as anything last night. We had Maddie Kuzat was playing on the wing. Thea was playing on the wing, and we just had no attackers last night. There was only Corpse really that was fit, because Lucy got an injury on Sunday at Bristol. So yeah, she did okay. First half she was a little bit probably getting used to that position. Second half, thought she did well. She did some good tackles. And we kept a clean sheet, which is always good. So yeah, she's been moved around a bit. She's played in the back three. She's played in a centre back partnership. She's played midfield, and now she's played right back. So she's very versatile. She's great on the ball, and I think she's getting a little bit more used to getting a bit more stuck in, going in for 50-50s, winning headers. She did that quite well last night. She looks a little bit more confident in doing that now, and that takes time, because she's a kid, and you're coming into a league that's very physical. It's not, you're not got teams that are just going to pass you to death like Chelsea and Arsenal, where teams will scrap and fight in this league. So no, she's doing okay, and she's growing as a player and a person, and that's what loans are all about. It's as much about her becoming a more sort of assured person and player in herself as it is about benefiting us and Man United. So yeah, nothing bad to say about her so far. And like I said, as a person, she's very, very, she's a really nice girl.
And that's the United fans. Even before Millicent, they got injured. It was maybe we need Tara back at some point, because we only had 3 recognised centre backs at the time, and Millie Turner got injured. But I think sometimes it's just good just to wait just wait a little bit. I'm not a big fan of bringing someone back from low, not in this position. I don't know if you agree with that. I mean, I would much rather Tara have a full season there and develop and get that game.
Well, we saw it with Ebony. Saw it with Palmer. She sort of came back, and I think we were very low on numbers that time when she came back. But then she came back, and then I think as soon as she came back, numbers came back, and then it was sort of like she'd never really got minutes, and then obviously COVID did hit, and then that's the end of that. But I was sort of the opinion, keep her out there, let her play. I think it's been good for her playing. I mean, Rich knows me and Rich have had chats. When I first saw Tara, she was playing as a number 6, and it took her a while to settle into the development team. I know we're going to go on to devs and all that, but I said this girl's special. I think I probably even told Rich, and Rich brushed it off. But I said no, watch this girl, and I think she's been a star of the England unders. I think someone I spoke to who watches the sort of under 19s sort of talks about Ruby Mays and Tara Bourne. It was those two going for it, and I think a lot of people seen Ruby Mays do really well at Birmingham, and I think she's got the plaudits now potentially in this cycle. But for me, I think Tara is just as good as her, and that's what I'd say. But I think she does need time. She does need to play, and she's getting those minutes now at Sheffield. I would like to see her play more as a 6. So if Rich can pass that on. But I think everyone knows that I want to see her playing as a 6. That's where I think she's best. That's where, I mean, I've seen her score this goal just before COVID, and it was just outrageous. And, I know it's in there. She's a great player, and I'm sure it's the best of her. But her playing and, conceding 5 goals as part of a set, that'll be good. It's not good for Sheffield now, but it'll be good for us in the future for Tara, because she knows now like how that feels, and whereas if you concede a load of goals for the dev team, it is what it is. But there's a lot of people looking at that. A lot of people will be saying things. Sheffield's got conceding a lot. It's a big shock to everyone, and I'm sure fans watching and all that kind of thing. Because, Rich even knows people want the links when Tara's playing. Give me a link. Where can I watch it? So she's got people watching for Sheffield from all around the world, you know what I mean? Because they want to see how she's doing, because she's a young player. So, it's good for her at Sheffield, getting used to our pressure of playing, professionally. But, I think when she comes back, it'll be that different pressure. So, now's the time to sort of build it up, kind of thing.
But before we touch on Lucy Watson, Rich, do you want to come back on that then? Like, maybe, obviously, if you've seen him in a number of positions, I mean, we know as a centre back, but do you think there's scope there to kind of see him in different positions?
Yeah, because she's very good on the ball. So, naturally, any midfielder needs to be good on the ball. I think the best I probably saw Tara was actually when she played in the back 3 on the opening day, and she could step out of the defence and bring the ball forward, and she did that very, very well in that game. The only problem with that is we don't really play a back 3. We played a back 3 on that day, kind of out of a little bit of necessity, because we had a couple of injuries. So, we haven't played a back 3 since. I don't really see us going back to it. So, she's played, probably the position she's played in most for us has been a centre back in a back 4. She started in midfield away at Crystal Palace and did okay, but it was a 3G pitch. It was a scrappy game, but they're the things she needs to get used to. Like you say, it's learning. It's a learning experience for her. She's here to learn. It's a short-term benefit for us, but it's a long-term benefit for Tara. And like Nat said, she got subbed at half-time on Sunday at Bristol because she struggled a little bit, but she's young. She's done it. It's all new to her, these kind of experiences. And it was so windy. It was throwing it down with rain. Bristol, she's not had that before. So, it's all about learning. It's all about, getting that experience before she goes back to United next summer. So, but she'll learn. She's growing with every game. Like I said, she looked a bit more, I think, confident in herself last night in terms of how she sort of got stuck in a little bit more. And that comes. She gets to know her teammates more. She's getting to know the coaches more, and it was the same with the other girls. Some of them it takes a little bit of time to come in. Palms had a great start. She scored twice in her first game, but it was against poor opposition. But it took her a little bit until she started really dominating games. It took a few matches, for her to bed in, and it was the same with Ebony as well. Ebony took a few games to start really scoring regularly for us. So it does. When you're that age and you've not had much first team football, it takes time. So, but she's done well. You can tell she's a good player, and like I said, I think whether it's as a ball playing centre back, like you see these days with people like Leah Williamson and whatnot that have sort of made that kind of role their own, coming out from the back, playing on the ball, or whether it's in the midfield, I think she can do either. I think she'd be one of those players that probably moves between during her career, depending on when she's needed. And like I said, she can even play right back. So it's not a bad thing to be versatile if you want to make a career for yourself, because versatile players always make careers for themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we're here to talk about Lucy Watson, then, aren't we? So,
Who?
As far as I'm aware, I think she's 17 and she's 18 in 10 days' time. So, if the club haven't got a party planned for her, that's like one little.
I should be out in Barnsley tomorrow night, probably.
Well, she's from Doncaster, isn't she? Like the actual club that she played for. Was she from Donny Bells?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure where the geography is there with Barnsley, Doncaster. But Vic, just give us a bit of a background on, like, where you kind of got her from, or because she's come out to nowhere really this season, from my point of view.
Yeah, she's from Barnsley, but she came from Donny Bells. Yeah, I mean, we've always done very well at like sweeping up the best young talent from this area, because we are the only team in the Championship in this catchment area. There are no other Yorkshire clubs, and to be honest, our nearest clubs have both gone. In terms of probably Villa, and then certainly Leicester. Leicester were definitely the nearest club to us, and obviously they've gone up as well. So I think now, like, our most local clubs probably like Coventry, to be honest with you, and that's a couple of hours away. So yeah, if there's young players coming through now at Donny Bells, at Leeds United, etc. We took Mia Enderby from Leeds United in the summer. She's a year behind Lucy, but she's probably every bit as talented. So we might be sat on here again in a year talking about Mia. But yeah, Lucy, always remember Wardy raved about her. Like, I'd never seen her play, didn't know her, but she was doing really well for Bells. She was in their first team at like 15. She'd been in the England youth teams. And she came in just before COVID hit. She came in that January, so never made a debut or anything like that. And then obviously Wardy left, Redders came in, and once she turned 16, I think it was a year ago this week actually, she made a debut. She came on at half-time against Crystal Palace and did quite well, and made about 15 appearances last season, I think. She started a few games, but she was predominantly a bench player. And yeah, then obviously Wilco left in the summer, and Redders, as he does, he's very big on youth. He didn't sign somebody else. He gave Lucy the number 9, and I think that was a big part in her staying. I think she had options to go, but I think the thing with Lucy is she's quite sensible. She's quite grounded. Her family are as well. Her family are good with that, and she knows any player at 17 you need to be playing. And she knew this season, being the number 9 with Wilco leaving, that she was going to start. Redders promised her that she was going to be a starting player, and she's repaid the face. She's the top scorer in the league so far, and she's got a long way to go. People will big her up, and rightly so. She's a talented player. I've got no doubt she'll go to the top, but you're never the finished product at 17. She still has a quiet game, still has a games where maybe she's not quite at it, but she can do something out of nothing. The thing she's so powerful. She's got such a powerful shot on her. She's skillful, she's fast. She's got all the hallmarks of someone that will be a very good player. But she's 17. You've got to be patient with her. She'll have games where she goes missing, and hopefully we don't think the injury she got on Sunday's too bad. Fingers crossed. It's going to be more probably short term than long term. She got quite lucky actually, because the physios were quite amazed that she didn't break a leg given where the tackle was. So but fingers crossed she's okay. And yeah, she's just she's a very talented kid, and again, she's a nice kid as well. She's quite humble, and she's very. She understands where she's at and where she needs to go, and that she needs to work hard. Some kids get to that stage and they sort of think, okay, I've done it now. I'm going to go to the top. But Lucy works hard, and she wants to improve. So yeah, she's been great, and it's a breath of fresh air. You see these kids coming through, and suddenly they're starring in your first team. It's great, when they're still teenagers.
I can see him dying to come in. Go for it.
Tic Tac. No, I'm only joking. No, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited because I think when I went to Sheffield, saw a few games, and I was like, "Yo, this kid is good." And I think Rich came over to me and said, "I told you," and all this. I was like, "Yeah, calm down. Let's see." Because I'm a big fan of Katie Wilkinson. Everyone knows that, right? Now, she scored bang with goals for fun for Sheffield, top goal scorer 2 seasons in a row, and obviously big boots to fill. And in my opinion, she's filling it. Obviously, I brought you down, John, Connor. And I think when she scored that goal, and I think, Rich says every shot she has, she's going to score. And, I think when she got that ball from court, I was like, what a ball. And I said, she's going to watch this. And I just, bang. And then everyone was like, oh, and, going wild for it. And I think, obviously, Sheffield lost, but we were all saying, player of the match, Lucy, oh, no way, she's just 17. I said, she's 17, man. And she's top goal scorer. And I think Connor couldn't believe it. I don't think you could believe it, John. I just want to hear you, John, because obviously I've seen her sort of dominate Durham pretty much. She scored a wonder free kick. I've seen other goals, obviously, via the player and stuff. But then I have seen games where, she's been quiet and, maybe not been that star of the show. But I think when she does get one-on-one or, pretty much like the position that we saw where she got a goal from, she's going to score 9 times out of 10. And I saw it for the under-19s, she just got goals out of nothing. There, got 2 goals. So, she's a good player. And I know, now quite a few of us have seen her. So I'd like to hear from you, John. You're someone who wasn't really going into and expecting to see a girl like that. And then, obviously, you saw her.
Yeah, well, obviously, Carla Ward described as a different level. And obviously, you can see that even, in that one particular game. I think back then she was referring to maybe her Dolly Bell's days, but she seems quite level-headed as well. And the maturity on the pitch regarding spatial awareness as well, the way that she managed to kind of always get that space and the body positioning when she took the shot. Yeah, I'm sure she made a couple of mistakes here and there throughout the game, but as a 17, 18-year-old, that's going to happen. As you said, Nat, when she picked up that ball, you knew that she was at least going to hit the target. And we could see where we were standing, where she should be shooting the ball because of the space and the position of the goalkeeper. And she made that shot look really easy. The fact that she managed to get the whole crowd kind of cheering for her, well, where we was, it takes a lot for a youngster to kind of grip you. And Connor mentioned on one of his previous shows as well, and I'll shout him out on this because he nailed it. When you're on a losing team, or it wasn't Connor, sorry, it was Andy. When you're on the losing team, 5-1, and you still stand out, you're doing something right. And yeah, for me, you talk about clinicalness. I think 5 goals in 4 games, we really just stand out. So you can see why, teams who need strikers, who have got that, where you're able to kind of bed someone in gradually because you've already got some star strikers at your club. You can see why WSL teams would at least be looking. And I also say, I mentioned maturity at the start. I read that article from Amy where she said City and United made that second phone call. I even think Chelsea and Liverpool made the initial inquiry as well. And she still chose to go to Sheffield. Okay, she probably spoke to her family as well. It was the best thing for her to get game time. And at the age of 17 and 18, there's no need to go to a big club. You just get that game time. And she's doing that now. And let's see where she ends up. Obviously, this is the first season in this kind of level. So you don't want to put that much pressure on her. And we purposely don't talk about our debts in this way because we don't want to put pressure on them. But it was nice to watch someone who we went there and had a bit of high hopes for getting on the score sheet.
I just want to touch on someone, and this is before Rich can come in, and Rich can come in on the back of me. But she came into the championship at 16, 17, LJ. And like you say, she got them big numbers. I know it's different positions because I think LJ isn't. Well, I don't know. LJ might eventually be a 9 or whatever. I see LJ more as a creative, whereas this Lucy is an out-and-out goal scorer. Number 9, 100%. LJ came in to us 16, blew up the championship. Yes, it was a different level, but then I think it's even harder now. So the fact that Lucy's sitting here 17, top goal scorer, it's sort of I would say it's comparable in a way. Just because of the level that we're at now with the championship. But, I mean, I'm sure she'll go on, score more goals, do a lot of things. And then, like you say, you talk about Chelsea, Liverpool made an offer. I know Liverpool's in the championship now, so drop them out. But then you talk about United City, and I'm sure by the end of the season, maybe even January, I don't know if they, I don't know what my club are doing. No one knows what any club are doing. But I'm sure that interest still remains throughout, especially seeing as she's a top goal scorer, you know what I mean? And she's still doing it. And then, like I say, LJ was doing it in the championship, went up to WSL. And yeah, she's having little problems, gone to Chelsea waiting. But, that's who I think of when I think of her, because I see how LJ smashed the championship. This girl, Lucy, smashes the championship. For me, it's there for her. Anything she wants. Rich.
Yeah, let's let Rich finish up on this. Obviously, I'm sure you're like us with our role. You don't want to speak too highly of someone, especially at that age. But obviously, stats speak for themselves. And then obviously, when you see yourself, we're talking about her for a reason. There's articles being wrote about her for a reason. Big clubs like Chelsea City and Man United was inquiring for a reason. So I just kind of wanted to kind of finish up on your thoughts on maybe how well she could potentially come.
Yeah, Amy made all that up. So, I mean, look, I think those clubs wanted her even before we signed her from Donny Wells. So, yeah, I mean, look, you always get excited. I get excited watching her because I know how good she is, and she won't be with us forever. That's the reality. I hope she's with us for as long as possible. And like I said, Lucy's quite sensible in that she knows she needs to be playing. If she gets an offer to go somewhere that's better than us, where she will play, good luck to her. But if she's going to go somewhere where she's not, there's no harm in having another season. She's a kid. By the end of even next season, she'll still only be 19 at best. So, that's you've still got a lot of your career to go at 19 years old. So, or, maybe go somewhere and come back on loan. I don't know. Those conversations will happen, and I definitely won't be a part of it. So, but yeah, she's great. She's great. And yeah, I mean, LJ, it's a little bit, I mean, yeah, the league is stronger now, but I mean, the Man United team was winning 6, 7, 8-0 every week. We're not, so I think there was a lot of players that stood, the attack Man United had in the championship was ridiculous. So it's comparable in a way in terms of the age and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see Lucy in that Man United team of 3 years ago in the championship. But that's obviously all hypothetical. But yeah, I mean, look, Lucy will play in the WSL. I've got literally no doubt about it. I'm pretty certain she'll play for England. She's just too talented not to be. But, some people say you get a little bit lucky. Some people say you got to earn your luck. I don't think it's about luck in terms of getting to the top. You've got to make the right decisions. If she goes to a club too early and she's sat on the bench or she ends up in the devs, it can stall you a little bit. You lose that momentum. If she goes to a club maybe further down the league where she will play and then maybe get a step up from there, who knows? I mean, I look a little bit at Lauren Hemp. She was at Bristol in the second division. She had a couple of months in the top division, then went to Man City, and some people thought it was too early, and she's out the park ever since. So, Lucy's a little bit similar to Lauren in terms of that pace, left-footed, can beat people, score goals. So it'll be interesting, wherever I end up in the next 10, 20 years, I'll always be following Lucy's career because I do genuinely think she's got the potential to go where she wants. She's just got to keep her feet on the ground, and from knowing her, I think she will. So I'm not going to be kicking her out the door. I hope she stays forever, but realistically, it's not going to happen. So I just hope, if and when she does go, she makes the right decision.
For me, the right decision up north, just below, not your Chelsea, not your City. Probably, you've heard what they've said about young players. I think everyone knows what we do with young players, but obviously that's up to her. Maybe the step might be like a Brighton, a Reading, but then it's like, do you want to go to a team? Sheffield are quite dominant in the, I know it sounds weird, but Sheffield are quite a big team in the Championship. So is there a point of then, say, going to a Birmingham style team? Or I don't know. I mean, maybe she will, because like what Amy's just said here, she would go to full-time training. I know Sheffield do a lot of training, a lot more than sort of when it all first started, but yeah, they are still part-time. Whereas, maybe even a Brighton would be good for her, something like that. But like I said, she's more north side, so for me it makes sense. But what do I know? Makes sense, maybe bring it in, loan it back, and then you're training you full time and you're still scoring your goals. But what do we know, Rich and John? What do we know, eh? We can just sit here and speculate and have fun.
We'll let Rich breathe a sigh of relief, and we'll move on to Ebony Salmon instead now. So a player that I know you're very fond of, Nat, and for the last couple of years I've been looking at her a bit more. Rich, you've obviously worked with her at Sheffield. Just for people in the comments or who may be watching this and they might be thinking, oh, Ebony Salmon, why might she come back? Obviously, the American League is like a different kind of format and the different times of the year. Nat, Rich, just between you, just kind of educate me a little bit, and mainly the people who might be watching, about how the American League works, because why might you come back in January? Not necessarily to United, but to a different club. Nat, do you want to start off on?
Yeah, okay. And Rich knows a lot more about it than me, but Ebony plays for Racing Louisville. They've just finished. There's a couple more weeks of games for the finals and all that, but they didn't make the finals, so that's their season finished. I think they start again in March, April. But the only reason I think that she would come back or go on loan somewhere, and it would only be for it depends what the Louisville would want, because they would probably try and call them back in February-ish time for the March start, or But for me, I think Ebony made the England squad. Then they formed a 23. She's captain of the 23s. I think if she wants that Euros, in my opinion, this is just totally in my opinion, I think even we're seeing with Alessia playing every week. I think Alessia maybe got called up instead of Ebony in a way, because she's playing every week, scoring as well. It's, how many times have we seen Serena on our doorstep? I'm not saying that she doesn't watch everywhere else, but, she'll be watching a lot of WSL in the build-up. Like I said, they'll probably be watching a bit more, but I just think for someone like Ebony, if she does want to make the Euros, maybe, which I'm sure she does, alone for between January and until the Euros, for me, would put you in good stead. Bang goals, let Serena see week in, week out. United, big club, seeing a lot of our girls get called up a lot more now. I know Australia, and I'm sure Rich will touch on that, is a popular, but I just think come back to the WSL. I mean, I'm sure she will eventually come back to the WSL, Ebony. Maybe she won't. Maybe she'll stay out there like Rachel Daly. But I think, for me, people might say, oh, Ebony, will we let her go? Listen, we should never have let her go. I always sit here and say that's the worst mistake we've ever done. I know people say about Greenwood, this and that. Forget about that. Letting Ebony go was the worst thing that we've ever done. So I'd love to see her back. 110. I'd break your arm. I think I posted it before. I said I'll cry my eyes out, because I'd love to see her back. She knows I'd love to see her back. Nice girl, very quiet, but when she's in that mood, she'll get goals. Rich?
Yeah, it's a really difficult decision, because there's that temptation, obviously, to come back on loan with the NWSL not starting again until sort of March, April time. But obviously, you've got all the pre-season as well, and the club will want her there for pre-season, and you've got the Challenge Cup now at the start of the year. And Yeah, I mean, with a major tournament coming around the corner, it's hard because, like you say, all the established England players in the WSL are going to be playing regular football between now and March and April, and Ebony isn't, if she stays over there. But, if you do come back on loan, it means you're playing consistently for 18 months, from the start of this season all the way through to next summer, and then obviously the Euros. And she's young, you don't want to burn out. And at the end of the day, it's completely down to her. She wants to go on loan, someone will take her. There's no doubt about that. Like you say, a lot do go to Australia because it's a very short season. It sort of starts around now and then ends sort of early next year. It's quite a small league, which is why a lot do go there because they're back in time for pre-season. But I don't think we'll see many loans. But I think last year it was a very extreme situation with COVID. That so many players did come over here on loan. What I will say is I'm going to give Amy another mention now. She's getting far too much of a mention tonight, but she does her podcast for Goal.com, the US podcast, and I believe Ebony's on it next week. So to give Amy's pod a little plug. I'm not going to tell you what Ebony says. I know a few little things because I saw Amy at the game yesterday, but I believe the topic of what Ebony might do the next few months comes up. So go and give Amy's podcast a listen next week.
Don't worry. We'll be on to Amy. Don't worry. Now I know
Don't
that.
think it comes out until the middle. She did say to me today, they're going to have to wait until next week. And I said, well...
Listen, yeah. Go and watch it, everybody. I'll find out. Anyway, no, I just want to touch on what that comment says from Sue. Again, it is quite popular. Obviously, Rich, so you might... Well, let's not spoil it for everyone. But could you see her doing something like that? Ebs?
Well, I'd go on loan to Australia if someone offered me it, because it's a great country. Why would you not? It's their summer. It's a great country. Yeah, I can't give too much away, but I don't think you should go to Australia. I think Australia is more. I don't know a way of saying this without being disrespectful, but it always feels like sort of slightly the less established players that maybe need the game time a bit more that go off to Australia. You don't see Megan Rapinoe and Carly Lloyd, etc., going off to Australia. So it's a great opportunity for them. A lot of players do it, and like you say, why wouldn't?
I mean, I was going to say Sam Kerr used to do it, but I suppose she's Australian.
Yeah, also I think Sam, like you say, family reasons and things like that. And obviously with national team camps as well. In January and February, it made a lot of sense for Sam to keep going back there every year. And Jess Fishlock used to do it. Jess Fishlock used to tell me. I remember Tash Dowie as well. She said the reason she never came back to England was because she'd have to stop going to Australia. And I think both her and Jess got to a point where they thought, I've kind of got everything I can get out of it. And obviously they committed then. Jess has stayed in America and Tash has come back to England. So, yeah, it's a great... For those that need a bit of game time and, it's a pretty competitive league as well. Yeah, why not? But I don't think that's what Ebs will do. But like I said, I don't want to give too much away and ruin Amy's podcast.
Do you think... I don't... Because we're going to ruin it now. Because do you think she will eventually, Ebony, come back? This is not about Amy's podcast. Who knows what she says in Amy's podcast. But you, Rich Laverty, can you see Ebony Salmon playing in the WSL again?
Oh, yeah. I think, she's so young. She's got probably 10, 15 years left, she wants to. So, you'd always be surprised if a foreign player stays in a foreign league for the rest of their career. They always do tend to come home eventually. She's talented. The one thing Ebony has going for her as well, that it's a very rare attribute in the women's game. When we talk about the women's game, we talk about more tactical, technical. We don't often talk a lot about players that have real burning, raw pace. And I don't think I've ever seen a player, certainly not a Chef, but even in the WSL, that is as fast as she is. She can be 10 yards behind somebody and she'll be past them in a few seconds. And I always remember a goal she scored for us at Tottenham when Fran Bentley just booted the ball up the pitch. And Ebony was about 10 yards behind the defender and she ran past her and scored. So if you have that and you have the finishing ability, which is coming now, she was very raw with that at Sheffield United. There was a lot of games she was very hesitant in front of goal, but it's coming now. Came with Bristol, and it's coming in America. You'll make a career for yourself because you'll score so many goals playing that kind of football. So, yeah, I think she'll come back one day. I don't see her being in the end, but she might come back and go France or to Spain or somewhere else. That's completely up to Ebony at the end of the day. But she's got all the talent to play for almost anybody. So I don't know whether that gets touched upon in Amy's podcast. I don't know what else they talked about. I know they talked about potential for what she's going to do in the next couple of months. So I'll sit in and listen to it like the rest of you.
I always find it interesting that whenever we think about previous United players, whether it be men's team or women's team, would we be as interested in them if they hadn't previously played for United? And I genuinely think that in this case we would be, because we are after a striker. Obviously, she's playing abroad, and as Rich says, I'm in the same kind of mindset. Presumably, you want to come back home at some point. People go to America to learn, maybe, or get game time or whatever, develop themselves. It's not maybe all the time for like their whole career. So, because we need that striker, because she's at that age, because she's banging in goals, because she's known to be banging in goals, because she knows that she'll be well liked here, I think we've got reason to believe that maybe not January, maybe not this summer, but when she's ready to come back, I think we have got reason to think, maybe there is potential here. What are your thoughts on that?
If we're not in the chat, I don't know what we're doing. That's all. That's what my thoughts are. If we're not in the chat, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know why we let her go in the first place. I've heard this and that and that and this, but I mean, I think I've had chats with Rich, I've had chats with others. When she was banging in them goals, I was just like, for Bristol, bearing in mind Bristol, and I remember even when I was talking of her going over to Louisville, and I said, are you mad? Of course she's going to score over there. Of course she's going to. And maybe it does sort of like, it's that rawness in for me, because I know that she was with us, and I know, like, she knows that she's got that love. She knows, United, we're always watching her and all this and that. John's doorbell's gone. But, we know that we're always watching her, and we've got that love for her. I'd be devastated if she went to like a city. I would, but I wouldn't say it's not like the same for me. I know even I've been asked this a lot of times. She wanted to be here. That's what I know. She would not have left this club. So that's why it hurts. It hurts, man. I mean, Rich, I don't know what you maybe, and John said something about, if she didn't play for United, but I think you'd still be looking at her, wouldn't you? I think everyone's looking at her, but I think it just would hurt her a bit more if then she went to another WSL club. But she's doing it right, and yeah. I mean, what do you think, Rich? I know you're not a United fan, but
I think United made a mistake letting her go, and again, I think that potentially gets touched upon in Amy's podcast. But I actually think for Ebbs, it's worked for her, and this maybe comes back to a little bit of what I was saying about Lucy, is that obviously she came to us on loan, and that kind of then, I mean, she had attention anyway because she'd done well at Villa, which is why she ended up signing for Man United in the first place. But you don't get noticed if you're not playing and you're not scoring, and she wasn't playing for United, and I think, well, the move she got at the end of the season to Bristol, would she have got that if she'd not come on loan? Would she have got that if she'd not come and scored 7-8 goals for us in that second half of the season? And, she could have gone back to United and in a different scenario have stayed, but, especially with them getting promoted, would she have played? Would she have played over LJ and Tooney and, whoever else, Jane Ross, obviously, at that point as well, more established, experienced players? And then, Bristol, she was playing every week. She was scoring and she was developing, she was playing 90 minutes, and that's now led to her going to America. And you go, well, is she in a better place now than if she'd have stayed at Man United? And no one will ever know. It's completely hypothetical. She might have gone back to Man United and ended up getting a run, and she might have been a starting player there, or she may have just ended up on the bench, gone out on loan again, or she might have then ended up joining someone like a Bristol maybe a year or two later, and she'd be a year or two behind in a development. So, for Ebbs, it's probably worked out for the best in terms of where she is now. But, United obviously lost a talented player that, I think many of us believe is good enough to play for a team like Man United. So it's a difficult one. And it all comes back to making those right moves at the right time. And, whether Ebony's was intentional or not, like you say, I think she would have stayed. But it's worked for her, and she's developed into a top player maybe quicker than she would have done. And it's all about playing. You've got to play and you got to score, and she came on that loan. It went well. She got a move to the WSL. She played every week, and then would she have got a move to the NWSL if she's been sat on United's bench every week? I'm not sure. So, like you say, it's all hypothetical. But I think for her personally, if you take Man United out of the equation, I think for Ebony, it's actually worked out probably about as well as it could have.
Yes, sorry about that.
I think it's it just hurts, I suppose. And John, I just don't know whether you feel, but you sit there and you watch this girl, and you watch Russo being in the first team for England, and you think Ebony, I'm sure, will be there again with her soon, and you just think, God, what could have been? And I know people are saying never understand. I don't know. There's a lot of decisions that I don't understand, but that's the one that I think just cuts the deepest. You get what I mean? Sounds really like over the top and too emotional, but it does really, really hurt.
It just makes it's a little bit worse as well because we replaced her with WSL experience. I've touched a nerve already there, but that didn't work out either. So that's the thing, isn't it? Stuart in the comments saying as Skinner got his signings ready, I reckon he might have even dropped a few names out in the first month he was at the club, but I think he probably just wants to kind of see who he's got around him first and kind of make his decisions there. We mentioned a couple of youngsters there. We have got a youngster of our own who's already at the club. We're just going to tease it out a little bit with Maria Edwards, obviously banging in a load of goals, scored a few more yesterday, as if it's that easy. It's about time that we start talking about her. But Nat, how would you start bringing Maria into the side? Because at the start of the season, I was thinking if anyone was going to come through, it would have been Maria. Not just because of her past, but because she's done well at the Devs. She's done the right thing by going on loan, done well at Blackburn. I know you're going to question on that shortly as well. She's not been sent on loan, which makes you think that Skinner wants to use her. We're short on wingers. We're short up front in general. You thought that this is the season that she's going to break through. I understand why she's not going to be played in the WSL, unless if someone does get injured, like Hampton or Galton or even somebody else. But surely, Conti Cup games or FA Cup games, get her on the bench, start getting a few minutes at least. That's the way I'm looking at it. Nat, how about yourself?
Get her on the bench, get her training up, get her doing all these kind of things. I mean, I think there's been images of Neve training up, of Rebecca May training up, of Chloe Williams training up. I know we've got like Carrie there, but for me, I think the perfect opportunity, and I think even when we talked about, and everyone talks about Kana, because obviously, Kana scored every game, fair play to her, but Maria, for me, is just to put that step above Kana, and that's where I do want to ask that question. Hope you've seen it, but for me, I think we talked about that bond between Sheffield and United. I was a bit disappointed, and I'll say it to the GM as well. Don't worry, but I was a bit disappointed that Maria didn't go Sheffield because I think she would have done better at Sheffield. No disrespect to anyone or anything, but I think she would have got more goals. There would have been more creation for her. I look at people like Bex Rayner. I don't know if Bex was there at that time, but look at Maddie. Would have created a lot of chances for her. Even I can't even remember who was there. Katie Wilkinson was there. Those kind of players were there. Natalie Johnson, banging down the wing. And I think up front, because I think Blackburn played her as a winger. That's also she's not really a winger, but she did well for Blackburn. I know she probably didn't get the numbers, but for me, I think she did well. I don't know what happened. Why she's not gone back out on loan. But for me, I think if you look at her numbers, I've seen a tweet that was saying, LJ's got, never mind LJ, Kana got 4 goals yesterday. I think she's just racking up numbers now. I think she's got like 15 and 7. For me, I think her sitting there getting 15 goals, I already know that she can do that. That's nothing to me. That's what I'm expecting. I know she's going to score. And when she scores about 5. She scores 6. I got a hat trick. I'm always saying it. I got a hat trick, 2 assists. I got this. She's playing differently now. I think she's in a 10 and Karna's in a 9. The last I saw, that's different from when she first divisionally before COVID came back. But when I look at Maz, and yeah, this is not first team. This is when I look at it and I see LJ. I see that's the kind of style of play that she plays. She can pick up the ball, beat 10 people, blast it top corner. Thanks. And maybe sometimes, and I say this when she was at Blackburn, Rich probably watched her a bit more at Blackburn than what I did. Maybe she thought she could do that in the Championship. You can't do that. Or you've got to use your players a bit more. I think LJ was able to do it because, well, the standard was a bit lower and like she had the attack that she had around her. That's why I wish she went to Maz went to Sheffield. She would have got a bit more better service maybe. But I think now is either you play her or sort of bring her up. Like you said, Durham was the perfect chance, and it was taught that she was going to play Durham, and then she wasn't even there. I think games like that. I know it was taught that teams play a lot of behind closed doors friendlies. Last weekend, things like that. For me, she's not getting involved in things like that. We don't know because it's behind closed doors. But if she's not getting involved in things like that, then I just don't know what to say. And I think maybe I'm not saying she should leave because obviously I'd want to see that would be another one like jeopardy. What would happen if? But if she's not getting involved, what's the point? And I just want to touch on John Fry. There's no bubble because they're now getting tested. So the academy is elite now, so they can move up, move down. So there was a week when Chloe Williams was training up, and next minute I heard she was scoring a goal in the Devs. So Rebecca May, same. I don't know, but yeah, they can go between more easily now, and the 16s can go up and all that. So I think it's all in hand. But yeah, I just want to put it to Rich, just what I've said. But yeah, Maz at Sheffield instead of Rovers.
What, this season or last season?
Last season. You upset me.
I'm not sure. I don't recall the name ever being really met. I think last season, it was all a bit messy anyway because obviously we had the managerial change. Like a lot of our business had kind of been done quite early. And like obviously in attack, we had Wilco, we had Jade Pennock, we had Mel Johnson who'd just come in. So that was kind of the sort of established front three. And then obviously we had Lucy. We had Kerry Matthews as well. So I don't think we were really looking for another attacker. And obviously, any club that's loaning a player out, you want them to play. And I think probably from United's point of view, she was going to play more at Blackburn than she would have done with us. It's a difficult one. I don't know Maz. I've never met her, never spoke to her. I've never really watched her because obviously she's playing dev football at the moment. I saw her I think once last season. I think she played against us. I'm not sure she played in the second one. I might be wrong. It's difficult. It's such a different level for a start. And again, sort of talking about what we were saying with Lucy, you go from playing in the Championship for a part-time club to being at Man United or Man City or something like that. It is a world away. And it's the same with dev football. Scoring 4 goals in the devs, it doesn't mean anything really. And I'm surprised she didn't go back on loan. I am. But like we were saying off air just before, there's a reason for everything. There'll be a reason she's in the devs. There'll be a reason United think that's best for her. They won't just do it for a laugh. You've got some very good coaches there. Mark is a good coach. Martin Ho is a very, very good coach. He's one of the most well-respected coaches in the game. You've got Charlotte Healy, who's one of the most respected youth team coaches. So, between the three of them, if I was putting my, 17, 18-year-old daughter in the hands of 3 coaches, they'd be 3 that were quite high up the list of people that I would think are the best place to deal with it. So if they think being in the devs, whether that's being close to home, being close to the club, being close to her teammates that she knows, for whatever reason, rather than being in the first team or being on loan, there'll be a reason for it. If they don't think for one reason or another, whether it's physical, mental, that she's not ready for the first team, that's why she won't be there. If she was ready, she would be there. They've got nothing to lose by putting her in. So there will be a reason. There'll be a reason that she's still there. There'll be a reason she's not in the first team. There'll be a reason she hasn't gone back out on loan. And maybe she will either in January or next season, or they're just taking it. You look at LJ at Chelsea, they're very much taking the time with her, and it's slightly different. She's a bit more of an established first team player, but every youngster's different. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on with them physically, the way they're growing, mentally, the way they're growing. She didn't set the world alight for Blackburn. She did well. I mean, it was a tough team last season for someone like Maz, as a very technical player. Ironically, she'd have probably been better off there this season because they've actually got some quite nifty little attackers. Like Megan Hornby's obviously gone there. She's been very good this season. Annabelle Blanchard there too. They're all quite similar players, but they played nice football. I think they've improved from last season. But there'll be a reason. There will be. These coaches, that are at the top of the game. And when you work for Manchester United, you are very much at the top of the game. So they'll have had discussions, I've got no doubt, about what was the best thing for Maz this year. And if they think that being in the devs is the best thing for her, there'll be a reason for that. I know everyone wants to see their kids in the first team. It's great. We had a kid, Tilly made a debut last night for us against Liverpool, and it's the best thing in the world, seeing someone come through your academy and making your debut. But you can't get too emotionally invested in it. It's got to be right for them and at the right time. And I'm sure Maz will be involved at some point, if she's talented enough and the time is right, whether it's the Conti Cup or whatever. But the one thing I always say, and I've said it for years, with any player, not just youngsters, any player, if someone's not playing, and I have this conversation with people on Twitter about the England squad all the time, there'll be a reason. Coaches don't just do it for a laugh. They don't just do it to then go and sit on Twitter and watch the reaction and get a cup of tea and laugh their head off at what people are saying. There'll be a method to it, I don't know what that method is with Maz, but if she's in the devs this year, there will be a good reason for it between those coaches at United.
But can I just touch on something? This is separate.
No.
I don't know if we're going to go on to something else and say in the other comment, Rich, if you want to wrap up. Look at the reason. I mean, I'm sure there was a reason why Ebony left. And look at that. That's all I got to say, really, on that. I mean, I'm not saying that the two are the same. Obviously, Ebony, you could say, lit it up more. But, yeah, I agree. I'm not a coach. They are three of the best coaches. But I don't know what you're saying about reasons and stuff. But this is the thing about the women's game. In the men's team, is if someone was like scoring as many goals, and you touched on it, John, as well, because you watch the 23s more than me, I can guarantee you, if someone had those numbers in the Mason Greenwood had those numbers, and people were like, where is he? I just think to not even, well, let's see what happens, because I'm sure her name will be mentioned a lot more, because it's just been put out there. The result, whether people talked about it through, it's being talked about a lot more. There's a lot more interest now in the women's game. That's what a journalist is there for. Now, to ask those questions, where are these players? Because the guys come out and said, Man United, you for this stuff. We're not just going to go out and buy, we've got Blackstinius on here, and I know we're going to touch on it, but, we're not just going to go out and buy a big name player. Well, there's the youth then. If you're not just going to go out and buy a big name player, where's the minutes then for your youth players? And for me, I don't know. I'm sure he's got an answer to do with rainbows and Beauty and the Beast and all that kind of stuff. But I want to know the real answer, not the 10 reason answer.
But the other thing I'd say about that is, I mean, youth team football, again, it's like talking about the Championship. Youth team football is it's such a different level. Scoring 4 goals, honestly, it's great. It looks good, but it doesn't mean a thing compared to first team football. And I mean, I work with our academy on the men's side at Sheffield United, and our under-23s won the league last year, and we won it with about 4 games to spare. And 1 or 2 of them have played for the first team. And, I see it on Twitter. I run our social media accounts, and every under-23s game, we have people saying, get them in the first team, get them in the first team. Our men's first team are in the Championship, and obviously last year they were in the Premier League. the lads that won the under-23s league for us last year that have gone out on loan this year, they're either in the conference or they're in the Conference North, because that's the level that they're ready to play at when it comes to first team football. They're not ready for the Championship. They're not ready for the Premier League. They're not even going to League One or League Two. So just because you're dominating at development team level, the step up is huge. You know, Maz's level at first team football might still be the Championship. It might not be Man United. That might be why she's not playing. You know, you don't know. It's the same with Tara. You know, Tara's come out on loan, you know, to see where she's at. And she might go back to Man United next year. She might be in the devs next year. Or she might go back out on loan. Or she might be in the first team, depending on how she does. You know, I'm sure they will have looked at last year and how she did at Blackburn in terms of a decision over her this year. Like I said, there's always a reason. You know, if she's in the devs, she's there for a reason. If she was good enough, if they thought she was good enough to be in the first team, whether, again, physically, mentally, whatever, she'd be there. They've got nothing to lose by her being there. If she's not, there will be a reason why she's in the devs. And I agree, it's up to us to find that out. I don't really do press conferences much anymore. I've not been on a single one of Mark's press conferences this year, so I can't ask that question, but someone I'm sure will at some point. If Nat pesters people on Twitter enough, I'm sure somebody will ask it eventually, but there'll be a reason. And like I said, I just don't know what it is, but there will be one.
I just want to touch though on, yeah, there'll be a reason. That's great. Yeah, but I just think, well, you need to tell people the reason. And like you said, for me, I think there's a reason, but I think what I didn't understand, and I'm telling you now, Carrie played and she made an assist. I'm so happy for Carrie, but for me, I think just call. What's the harm? What would be the harm in having Maz or having someone else or having Kana? Well, maybe Kana for me is a different story because then you get the media like Rich. That's when Rich is interested. No, I'm really joking. But then you get Sky Sports News. You don't need that. But, you know, what would be the harm in Maz travelling up when we played Durham and sitting on the bench? That's the one thing that gets me. I think, you know, that would have been great for her. Even one game, maybe Everton or something, you know, Conti Cup. Hopefully, I hope that we get a, you know, National League or Championship team in the FA Cup, because for me, she would have to be on the bench then minimum. And that doesn't mean she has to play or come on, but just to be in and around it on a match day, have the feeling, you know, see all the fans coming in, have that feeling of, you know, being away from home and United. Obviously, all the Durham were against us, but you had that little corner of United fans and United fans' flags. You know, I think we saw it with Casey. Casey did it. She put on enough young players on the bench and they never got on. But, you know, Chloe Williams, when we beat City in the Conti Cup, she was on the bench. She never got on, but she had that feeling of this is what a derby's like in the first team. I just want to, you know, I think, you know, like you say, why is she not on loan again? I don't know. For me, that doesn't make sense. And then never say, yeah, if you're not going to loan her, you're going to keep her in the devs, put her, you know, at least getting some experience of the first team. Because for me, I just think she's sitting there getting loads of goals. I know she can get, you know, this is not new. Maz scoring goals is not new. And then now she's just scoring, like you say, 4. Like, I know for you, I get a bit hyped, but it's out of the world. You know, for me, it doesn't matter what she scores for, but I don't know.
But as someone in the comments says, it could even be her decision not to go on loan. It might not be, but we don't know. You know, we don't know what Maz is thinking. We don't know what, you know, her situation is, family. We've no idea. We've got absolutely no idea whether it's her decision, the club's decision, you know, or whether it's a case of, okay, well, let's keep her here now, play in the devs, see how she does, send her out on loan in Jan. There'll be a plan. Clubs have we've got a plan for every single one of our players at Sheffield United. Every single one of them, whether they're a development player, first team player, they all have an individual plan of what we want for them and what they're going to do. So I'm absolutely certain all the top clubs will have them. So, you know, there's so much fans aren't privy to. I mean, like the amount of stuff that goes on behind the scenes at a club, and this is just me speaking as someone who works for a part-time club, is ridiculous, the amount of things you've got to, you know, deal with on a daily basis. So I can only imagine what it's like at a top club like Man United. So, you know, Yeah, you need to get pestering Amy and Molly and your mate Sanders and whatnot.
Don't worry, we're on it, mate. We're on it. Don't worry about that. We're on it.
Nat, we've got so much more to talk
Yeah.
about regarding Edwards and a couple of others. So we'll save it for a separate show because we've got something really good lined up that I'm really excited about. But we have got Blackstinius on the thumbnail. Just a quick one-word answer, Rich. Have you heard anything about Blackstinius' future? I know that she extended a contract. Is anything going around? We heard about another club probably being ahead of us. But what are your thoughts on that one, Rich?
Well, you wanted a one-word answer, so
Have you heard anything?
I think there's interest from a lot of clubs. Her contract's up at the end of the year. There were some offers for her in the summer, which her club rejected, which is fair enough. So yeah, I think she will be a name. So I think she'll leave. I think the Swedish league's a great league, and it always has been, but it's difficult for the clubs to sort of compete now, particularly financially with the English clubs, the French clubs, German clubs, etc. So yeah, I think Stina will leave in the winter. I don't know where. Hand on heart, I genuinely don't know where, but I think she'll go.
She's gonna go. Who knows where? It could be Arsenal. I think we should be in the chat, but then who knows? Who knows?
If we're sitting third in January and City are still floating around where they are at the moment, maybe things could develop.
I think United was certainly interested in the summer. Whether they still are now, I don't know. Whether that was Casey or whether it was after Casey, but I was told United were interested, so we'll see.
Breaking news! Breaking news! Can't stop now. Come on, Rich, tell more.
That's it. That's all I know.
Breaking news. That.
But this is the funny thing, because me and you talked about this now, and we were talking about this earlier on, like, because obviously you just talked about Maz, and you want Maz in and around the first team and things like that. If you go out and sign a player like Stina,
we know.
Listen. We've already had the chat. Me and John have had the chat of who.
Yeah, we know.
But anyway, that's another debate.
I'll leave that moral predicament to you guys then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on, Rich. Cracking show. We've had quite a few people watching live as well. Plan for the rest of the week. So Friday night fan forum tomorrow as usual. Saturday night live with Ben and Matt. Sunday match day finally. It's finally here, so we'll be on the road. Well, I'll be on the road for about 8:30. Nat, you're probably going to be on the road for about 7 o'clock-ish. It's going to be a long day for yourself. 6 o'clock, even better. So yeah, tune into all our socials. Keep up to date. Subscribe if you're new. Subscribe to Rich follow Rich on Twitter. Do you want to give your handle a bit of a shout out, Rich?
Yeah, it's just Rich J Laverty. So yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Who got this weekend? I don't even know. I haven't even.
Charlton, Sheffield. I got Charlton. Look at that. I'm a big Sheffield
fan. I know
fan.
who I've got. I'm on. Who have you got?
Spurs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if I didn't know who we had, I'd be a bit worried.
What do you think? Just a quick one, Rich. Win. 3 points. Man United. 3 points.
Yeah, if they're the games United have to be winning. If they're not, then they're not going to be getting towards the top 3.
Yeah, good.
Nice one. All right, then, guys. I'll catch you very soon. See you later, guys.